Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to Keep Looking Up. This is our 30th Keep Looking Up episode, and we are here tonight to talk to you about the biggest astronomical event that is going to occur this century in just over 2 weeks. That is the total solar eclipse. And we're going to get you all ready for that while you're here tonight. Helping me out tonight are my two faithful planetarium assistants, even though we don't have much of a planetarium right now. More on that a little bit later as well. First up is Jordan. She'll be helping us out with the Star Talk and also be monitoring our notes. I know you guys are going to have a lot of questions about the eclipse, so I want you to write your eclipse questions in the comments. And Jordan and our other student assistant, Aubrey, there's Aubrey. She's going to help out as well. We'll be happy to answer them. They will also put them on to me so I can answer them live as I do my bit, getting you ready for the eclipse. But as we do with every show, we are going to start tonight by taking a look at the nighttime sky because, hey, we're a planetarium. It's what we do. So I'm going to share our screen here, and we are going to look at the nighttime sky. For those of you who are familiar with our little bit here, and I probably am still in the corner because I didn't mute my video. I'm going to do that. I'm going to stop my video. There we go. So now my picture isn't up there, but you can still hear me. This program is called Stellarium. This is a free planetarium that you can get for your computer. All you got to do is tell Stellarium if it's a Mac or a PC and whether it's 32-bit or 64-bit. But it is absolutely free and a great tool to look around the nighttime sky. We have Stellarium here set for tonight about 9:30. That's because sunset tonight was at about 7:40 p.m. Thanks to the time change, which, by the way, I am still not adjusted to. I'm sorry. I hate changing time. Just leave it. You know, I don't care if it's daylight savings, daylight regular. Just leave it. Anyway, I'm not going to go into my usual rant that I do. But that means it isn't dark right at 8 o'clock because it's still too bright because the sun just set. It won't be until about this time, 9:30, that you're going to see everything there is to see in the nighttime sky. So I'm going to start us off showing you this right here. This is the moon in the nighttime sky. Well, looking outside right now, you're not going to see the moon with all this rain coming down. I think you will Sunday, though. And Sunday is the day of the full moon. So we're 2 days away from the full moon. That means we have a waxing gibbous moon tonight. This will be the last full moon before the eclipse. And we'll get to more on the moon at the end of this Star Talk as well. The other bright object that you'll see in the evening sky is getting fairly low in the west right now. Over here, it looks like an airplane's just standing still and not moving. That is Jupiter in the nighttime sky. Jupiter is the fourth brightest object in the sky after the sun and the moon, obviously, and our nearest neighbor, that is the planet Venus. But Jupiter is the brightest thing in the evening sky right now. Those are easy to spot, but probably when you're outside at night, you're not going to have this nice letter S down here at the bottom to show you're facing south or southwest when you're looking at this. Fortunately, the nighttime sky can also help you figure that out. And to do that, I am going to pass you off to Jordan.
Alrighty, so we are going to find the Big Dipper, which many of us know and are able to point out pretty easy. Oh, there it is. Alrighty, we will find the top two stars in the cup. It's got the four main stars in the cup and then the three on the handle. We will find those top two, and we will follow those in a straight line down, and we will find the North Star that is also known as Polaris.
And what's
in
that
Polaris, not in Polaris, excuse me. Polaris is a part of the Little Dipper. Their scientific names are Ursa Minor and Ursa Major, also known as the Big Bear and the Little Bear. I don't have the imagination of a Greek person, so I don't see a bear, but hey, who knows? And then if we go back to the Big Dipper, Aubrey will tell us other things that we can find through it.
Thanks, Jordan. Yeah, so as Kurt likes to say, the Big Dipper is the key to everything in our night sky. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the 3 stars of the handle of the Big Dipper, and we're going to do what astronomers like to call arcing to Arcturus. So we're going to take that curve, we're going to arc down to Arcturus, which is the base of the constellation Bootes, the herdsman. I don't know about you. I don't know any herdsmen. I've never really seen any herdsmen. So the way that I like to think of this constellation, especially being, well, especially going to school around here, is of a Handel's ice cream cone, as soon as the weather gets a bit warmer. So we can see that Arcturus is the base of that cone, and it kind of goes up into a like triangle, and then you have the ice cream scoop that goes on top to curve the top of the constellation. And there is, of course, a scoop that fell off, but it's just below the horizon. That's another constellation for another time. But what we're going to do is we're going to also go back up to the Big Dipper, because if we now take the 2 stars at the back of the ladle, we can draw a straight line to the right, and we are going to go all the way over to Regulus, which is the heart of the lion, Leo the lion specifically, excuse me. And we can see that the moon is just in Leo the lion right now. Leo, you might have heard the phrase "in like a lion, out like a lamb." That's actually a astronomy term for spring, because Leo has now started to rise now that it's springtime. And it's hard to find Aries right now, but basically Aries is the lamb, and so it has now set. So when you look up in the night sky as spring continues, you won't be able to see Aries anymore at this time of night. But we can also kind of tell the head of Leo the lion is another asterism, and it's called the sickle, because it is just that curve once again. Really cool. So, but those are some constellations in our spring sky. However, we can still see some very prominent constellations in our winter sky. I think, especially since the weather has not let up here. We had some snow a few days ago, so it's still feeling like still feeling like winter, and the sky shows that too, because we have some of these constellations. Obviously, the most notable, Orion, very distinct with its 3 stars that make a belt for Orion. And with a good telescope, you can actually see the Orion Nebula, which is just hanging right below the belt as like a sword. And then he has, of course, his 2 feet or legs, depending on how you view him, and as very bright stars. And then the 2 arms, one up like a club with Betelgeuse as the armpit, since that's a rough translation from Arabic. And then you have the other one, which is Bellatrix, right? Did I say that?
Yep.
Yeah, Bellatrix. So those are his 2 arms. And then Orion was a hunter, as we know, and so to go hunting, he had his faithful dogs. He had a big dog and a little dog. We're just going to talk about the big dog. So we're going to take the 3 stars in Orion's belt. We're going to draw a line diagonally down to the brightest star in our night sky, called Sirius. And Sirius is what I like to think of as the eye of Canis Major, or the big dog, made up of a bunch of other stars. So those are also a couple constellations that we can still see from our wintertime sky. But now on to our main event, which I know everyone has been waiting to hear about. So I'm going to turn it back over to Kurt.
Okay, and I'm going to unmute my video here. This will take me a minute to set up for my presentation here. But once again, I know you're going to have questions about the eclipse. Please share those in the comments. We will be happy to answer them as we go along. I just have to clean up my screen here a bit. Anyway, and I have to call that up, and I have to start that. There we go. And then I have to go like that and that. And this is the tricky part of sharing a screen. Give me one moment here. Okay, so we'll get my presentation going here, and I want to do screen 2, share, and then I can get that rolling once again. Okay, so this is my new fancy logo. See, when you don't have a planetarium you actually can work in, you have time to do other things, and I just so happen to be an Adobe After Effects Jedi Master, so I can come up with stuff like this to use. So this is how we're introducing, and I'm sure the first question that everybody has is, what's going on with the planetarium? Well, I am happy to report, and you've probably seen on Facebook, that we have begun our construction at the Ward Beecher Planetarium. And as of 3 o'clock this afternoon, this is what the planetarium looked like. So this is confusing because nobody has seen the room from this perspective before. If we look over here on the left, they have installed a scaffolding and a platform. This platform is about at the level that our cove used to be at. Back here, where my mouse is at the middle left of the picture, that's where our Chronos console is, right at that point, and that's the back wall. This is the side wall on the far side of the planetarium. The reason it looks yellow is they have removed all the carpeting off of the wall. We're getting all new carpeting down that wall. This is sections of the dome here. That's a bunch of our cove lights right there, and they are removing the drywall behind as well. This other picture over here, the light you see coming in from this picture is from the main entrance. So this is the back wall on the other side, on the main entrance side, and this is the side wall on the main entrance side. This rest of scaffolding still has to be built over here, and then the rest of the dome is going to be coming out. We just had a meeting this week. It's looking like the dome is going to begin, the new dome. This is all going to get out of here over the next week or two. Then they get rid of the drywall behind. Then they start repairing the actual fire damage. But by the middle of May, we're going to have our new dome begin to install. It's a 5-week process. We are on schedule to be open in the fall of 2024. So this may be one of the last keep looking ups we get to do. So keep your fingers crossed, and we'll keep thinking good thoughts. All right, let me move on now to the topic of the day, and that is the total solar eclipse. And it is not an exaggeration to say this is a once-in-a-lifetime event. I'll get more to that in just a minute. But first, let's start off with what an eclipse actually is. An eclipse occurs, well, first of all, the moon is 1/5 the size of the Earth. The sun is 109 times bigger than the Earth. But in an interesting little trick of geometry, the sun is 93 million miles away from us. The moon is 250,000 miles away from us. So because of that, they seem to have almost the exact same angular diameter in the sky. They appear about the same size in the sky, even though the sizes are so different from one another. An eclipse occurs when one body passes between the others. And eclipses are always named for the object that's being blocked. So a solar eclipse occurs when the sun is blocked by the moon. That can only occur at a new moon phase, when the moon is in between the Earth and the sun. And a lunar eclipse occurs when the moon is blocked by the Earth's shadow. And that can only happen when you have a full moon, because that's when the Earth is in between the sun and the moon. Now, this does not occur every single time we have a new moon and a full moon, because the moon's orbit to the plane of the sun is tipped 5 degrees. So a lot of times the moon will pass above or below the sun. A lot of times the moon will also pass above or below the shadow of the Earth as well. The other thing I want to point out on to you here is it might seem to you that solar eclipses are much, much more rare than lunar eclipses. But in fact, they always, always, always happen in pairs. Whenever you get any type of solar eclipse, partial or total, either 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after at the new moon, you will get a partial or total lunar eclipse as well. The reason why you get to see way more lunar eclipses than solar eclipses is looking at this right here. The moon is a lot smaller than the Earth. It can pass completely into the Earth's shadow. Because of that, half the population of the Earth, one whole half of the Earth, gets to see a lunar eclipse when it happens. On the other hand, because the moon is so much smaller, its shadow covers just a very small portion of the Earth. So you have to be really lucky for a solar eclipse to pass right over your location. And lucky for us, right now, we have one of those coming up right here in this area. This happens on Monday, April 8th in the afternoon. This is the total path that it's following. If you look at this globe down here in the corner, it actually starts off in the Pacific. It comes up over Mexico. It covers some big cities down in Texas like San Antonio, Ostis, Waco, and Dallas. It passes over Little Rock, Arkansas. I was just in a little town right here called Murfreesboro, Arkansas, and they are going to town. You can't go into a store in Murfreesboro, Arkansas without seeing t-shirts, hats, eclipse shades, all decked out. They're going to town for this event there. Up a little bit further, you're going to be going across southern Missouri. It's going to just miss St. Louis. It's going to go across southern Illinois. It's going to cross Indianapolis, Dayton, Columbus, Akron, Cleveland, and Erie. It's going to go over Niagara Falls, and eventually the eclipse will lift off past the Canadian Maritimes up here in the north. This is doesn't cover quite as much of the United States as the eclipse in 2017 did. It started up in Seattle and came down across South Carolina, so it covered a bigger swath of the country. However, the path this is covering is much wider. That's because the moon's orbit around the Earth is not quite a circle. It's a little bit egg-shaped, and for this eclipse, the moon is going to be on its close approach, what we call perigee. So the shadow is going to be wider than the one was in 2017. Now, let's move on to the next one here. This is from a great website, which we have a link to on our website, wbplanetarium.org, greatamericaneclipse.org. This shows you how the eclipse covers across in some basic time. So when it gets to this area is around 3:15 in the afternoon. And the duration is going to depend on where in this area you're going to be. You'll notice that outside, well, let me go to the next slide. I can show you this a little bit better. Outside of this path, this black line is the edge of totality. Youngstown is just outside. All our friends down in Columbiana County, you are outside the eclipse area when you're looking at this. So you will not be able to view the eclipse in that area. You're going to have to go up into this area too, but this is the time and coverage. This is also on greatamericaneclipse.com. The center of the eclipse is over along a line just west of Cleveland. In that area, you can have as much as almost 4 minutes of totality, 4 minutes of being under the shadow of the moon in this area. Where we are over here, it drops off 2 minutes there at Warren and just about a minute just north of Youngstown there. So be aware, this is the time to plan ahead for your eclipse. First, a couple of things. Oh, I went back a slide. I didn't want to do that. Let me move forward again. There we go. I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute, and I'm going to pull these out. If you haven't gotten eclipse shades yet, this is the time you want to do it. They're going to start becoming very, very scarce over the next 2 weeks. The thing you want to look for with eclipse shades is you want to make sure they are ISO registered. You can't really see on my thing here, but you want to make sure you get ISO approved solar shades. Now, there are a couple of ways you can do this. Number one, we do have a link on our website to Great American Eclipse. If you order now, they will ship them to you in time. The more you get, the cheaper they are from there. That is where we got our shades for our event, which I'm going to get to at the end of this presentation. But we have a couple of other ways that you can get Eclipse shades. First up, Aubrey, why don't you tell them about the event going on tomorrow and then what you guys are doing? Hey, very nice shades.
Yep, I just ran and grabbed mine because I thought, why not? Yeah, so the first event is tomorrow. The Mahoning Valley Astronomical Society, known as MVAS, is going to be doing a eclipse talk right across the hall from the planetarium in Ward Beecher Hall at 6:30.
Obviously,
However,
it can't be in the planetarium like it usually would be, but it's
right, yeah. So from 5 to 9 p.m. though, they will be selling glasses, I believe $2 to $3 per pair.
I think it's $2 a pair, if I'm not mistaken. It might be $3 a pair, but they are
Yeah, I'm
using
not
the
sure.
proceeds to put a new roof on their observatory in Newton Falls.
Yeah, so also a good cause. However, if you can't make it tomorrow, the Society of Physics students, which I and Jordan are members of, we are also continuing to sell them in our department office, also in Ward Beecher Hall. It's just down the hall from where the planetarium is. And we're also selling those two for $3. So yeah, two full pairs for $3, so a better price, just saying. Uh, so you can pick those up during the day. I want to say roughly 9 or 10 a.m. to Jill's usually there till like 3 or 4. So yeah, those are our main hours, Monday through Friday, that you can come get those from our department, and that's supporting the Society of Physics students here at Youngstown State University.
I will also point out you can call the Page's office, which is 330-941-3616. If you can't get there at those times, leave a message. Jill will pass that on to SPS to get back to you about purchasing shades. Okay, thank you, Aubrey. I'm going to go back to the presentation now. So yes, eclipse shades are the very first thing you want to worry about right now. But when you're getting closer to the day of the, number one, ISO proof shades, number one. However, if you are in the trades and are a welder, if you have welder's glass that is number 12, number 13, or number 14, you may safely observe the eclipse with that as well. Welder's glass will work. If you happen to have a welder's mask with 12, 13, or 14 in the visor, you can use that to view the eclipse as well. One thing you don't want to do, though, is look at the sun. Even when it's almost totally eclipsed, you do not want to look at the sun, even if a little sliver is peeking out. That will hurt your eyes. The only time you can safely look at the sun without the eclipse shades is during totality. So those of you who are staying in Youngstown, it's going to be 99% covered, but that 1% can still hurt your eyes. So you're going to need to do the eclipse shades if you are staying in Youngstown or outside the path of totality. If you have a telescope or a pair of binoculars, you also need proper filters on those as well. You can't just point those out. You'll really burn out your eye because you're magnifying that light into your eye. That's really bad. Same goes for your cell phone. You will damage your cell phone's camera if you point it at there. Fortunately, you can take your eclipse shades and put it over the camera, and I have seen people make that work. It's a little bit tricky, but you can do that. Not the best.
If I may, real
Yes.
quick. Dr. Durrell did a talk yesterday, and he actually had a pair of binoculars that he had found special filters to put on them. There is a company called Celestron, a very reputable company that we get solar filters and telescopes from. And you can actually go on Amazon and you can get one. They're There's I think they're like $20 per filter, and so you can get two of those for a set of binoculars. And they're really easy to put on and everything. They fit a bunch of different sizes. Just to let you guys know that that is a option as well.
But if you're going to do that, I do it tomorrow. 2 weeks is pretty close, and they're going to be really popular. They might be starting to run out of those. So sooner rather than later. So once again, this planning ahead thing. The other thing you want to plan ahead for is travel to the site. Around here, the peak is right around 3:15. You do not want to wait until 2:30 to try to drive into the eclipse. I can guarantee you right now, just about every hotel in Cleveland, Kent, Akron, Warren, Ashtabula, Erie, Conneaut, every single hotel is going to be completely booked for that Sunday night into the Monday, because just off the screen over here is Pittsburgh. There are several million people in Pittsburgh. There's a bunch of people down here who are not in the path of totality. And all of those people are going to try to get into this zone to look at the total eclipse. That means that all these roads you see are going to get really, really busy. And it's going to be worse if it is a partly cloudy day. If you got cloud cover at one spot, a lot of eclipse hunters actually will chase for clear skies. Oh, it's clear cloudy here. We still have 5 minutes. We're going to hop in our car and drive till we get to a clear patch where we can watch. Do not be surprised if at totality traffic stops on interstates. You've probably heard the warnings from your local emergency services people. A lot of schools are closed. A lot of people are saying stock up on food and gas. The reason for this is not going to create an apocalypse. The world is not going to end when the moon passes between the earth and the sun. However, there are going to be a whole lot more people in the local area than the infrastructure is used to. They're going to be shopping, they're going to be going to restaurants, they're going to be getting gas, they're going to be staying in hotels. Good for the economy, but it is going to put a really strain. If you're going to try to do anything on that Monday, it's going to be really hard to get places, and it's going to be stores are going to run out of stuff, things like that. So you just want to plan ahead as you're getting ready for this eclipse. All right, let's move on here. Let me do that. There we go. Okay. Let me see if I've got this video running now. Okay, I think it's running now. Yes, okay. So what this is a video from 2017 that somebody took of what it looks like when the total eclipse is beginning. If you look in the upper right corner here, it's showing you how much of the sun is still uncovered. And this is a shot out looking around at what happens as totality approaches. Now, here in our local area, the moon is first going to touch the sun around 2 p.m. And at that time, the moon's, if you picture the sun as a clock face, the moon is going to advance from about the 5 o'clock position across the face of the sun. Now, as this happens, it's going to get gradually and darker as more and more of the sun is covered up. But this is very gradual. It's going to be hard to notice because your eyes, your pupils adjust to how dark it is. So it's going to be a very subtle thing until it gets very close to completely covered. And you'll notice the little sliver here is getting smaller and smaller and smaller up in the corner. And you're going to start noticing it gets a little darker. Maybe I can move this ahead a bit. Well, we'll let it keep going here. I'm going to make sure that's still running. I think it's still running. Yeah, I might just skip this, but I will let you know as it gets very close with about 5% of the sun left. The temperature is going to drop noticeably because less sun is coming out, and I think that's still going. Well, if it isn't going, we'll continue on. Shadows will become much, much sharper. That's because the light source in the sky, yes, that's still going. The light source in the sky is getting smaller and smaller. That makes shadows sharper and sharper. Also, colors are going to look really weird because of the less light. Greens and yellows are going, greens and reds are going to stand out very well as the light source changes. And okay, now you can see it getting darker as we approach totality here. Birds are going to roost. They think it's nighttime, so they are going to begin to roost. That shows you the video is running there. Somebody got in front of his camera. And now we are just about at totality. And this is what the landscape's going to look like at that time. You're still going to have glow around the edges where the sun is still shining, but under totality, it gets completely dark. And when this happens, you'll see eclipse.
Hey, Kurt.
Yes.
Sorry, you're in the corner. You're blocking that view.
I'm blocking the view. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, very good. That's the problem with having video on. I'm sorry about that. I am not the sun, but there is totality. We'll move on to the next one. It'll be a little easier to me. Now, this is a really cool effect that happens just before totality. Over here on the very edge, you see a little bright areas. These are called Bailey's beads. This phenomena was first described by a Scottish astronomer in 1836 named Francis Bailey. Because the moon is not perfectly smooth, it has mountains and valleys and stuff. So when it almost completely covers the sun still shines through some of those valleys and is blocked by some of those mountains. And you get these little beads along the surface here that's the last thing. You still can't take off your eclipse shades, though. You can see this through your eclipse shades, but this is the last step just before. And then just before totality is reached, there's one very deep valley here, and there'll be just one last little spot there. That's called the diamond ring. And when that happens, after that disappears, we are at totality. And this is what totality looks like. Now you can remove your glasses. When totality is reached, you're not actually going to be able to see anything through your eclipse shades. Then it's safe to take off your eclipse shades and look up at the sun. The glow you see around is a part of the sun you don't usually get to see. It's called the corona. This is very faint compared to the bright surface of the sun, and you don't get to see it. Now, one really interesting thing with this eclipse as opposed to 2017, in 2017, we were at a solar minimum. The sun was very quiet, not a lot of sunspots and stuff. We are at the diametric opposite right now in 2024. We are at a solar maximum. There are all kind of sunspots on the surface right now, crackling with energy, sending off prominences, coronal mass ejections, all sorts of stuff. So this corona is going to be much bigger than what was observed in 2017, and it's going to be really neat to check. To see how active it's going to be, there's a great website run by NASA called spaceweather.com. And they post a daily picture of the sun showing you the sunspot activity. It also is a nice thing if you are interested in aurora, because it tells you when auroras are going to be in your area. But you can go to spaceweather.com a day or two before, and you can see how active the sun's going to be on the day of the eclipse. Something else you may be able to see, you can barely see it in this picture. You see these little red areas around the edge. That's because it is a long exposure photograph to make the corona stand out. But you will see little shoots of things off called prominences, and those should be also very visible during totality. But looking just at the sun isn't the only thing you want to do during totality. You want to check out the surroundings going on. This picture is not done in Photoshop. Somebody actually took a picture during the 2017 eclipse of what it looked like. You'll notice the sun is blocked. Everybody's in silhouette. As I mentioned in that other area, you can see the glow of twilight around the edges still. And other things will become visible as well. This is a actually pretty bad picture of what the sky will look like during the totality. Number one, Venus here is the third brightest thing in the sky after the sun and the moon. It's magnitude minus 3.9. And actually, if you cover up the sun and take off your eclipse shades, you will be able to see Venus 10 minutes before and 10 minutes after the eclipse. It'll be bright enough you can see it before we have totality, which means you will be able to see it like in Youngstown, for example. During totality, Jupiter will pop out. We just talked about Jupiter in our star talk. It's a little bit further away on the other side. It is only magnitude -2, so not quite as bright as Venus, but you'll easily be able to see that. You won't be able to see Uranus. They just put it on this graphic. There's no way you'll see that during totality. You may be able to pick out Saturn and Mars. They, as you see, are very, very close together over here. And you have an outside shot of catching Mercury too. Mercury's very close. It may be lost in the corona, but it is about as bright as Mars, so you may actually see Mercury. Now, the wild card in everything we may get to see is this comet right here. It's called 12P Pons Brooks. This is a regular visitor. It goes out to about the orbit of Neptune and falls back in. It has a 76-year period, and it is on close approach 8 days after the eclipse, which means it's going to be at its brightest. Now, this is an interesting one because it has flares. You might have heard this called the Devil Comet. That's because for a time it sprouted 2 tails and it looked like horns. So it's the Devil Comet. No, it's not the Armageddon, and forget it. But there is a possibility that it will flare. And if it flares, it might become as bright as, say, Saturn or Mars over here. And there is an outside possibility during totality that we will be able to see Pons Brooks. It's right at the edge of what you can see without the use of a telescope or pair of binoculars right now, about 6th magnitude. So there is a possibility, but it's still unknown because comets are like cats. They have tails and they do exactly what they want to, not what we want them to. So there you go. Okay, when Bailey's beads reappear, you must put your glasses back on. And then, like I said, in this area, that'll be a little after 3:15 p.m. For totality to happen. And then by about 3:20, the moon will be moving off the face of the sun. Now, total eclipses, as I said, don't occur all that often. Well, they occur fairly frequently, but not for us here in this area. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event. The next worldwide total solar eclipse is going to happen on August 12th, 2026, but that will be going over Spain, Iceland, and Greenland, and a whole hunk of the Atlantic. Now, there are actually cruise ships that will sail under totality, so something to keep in mind for 2026. If you want to go on a cruise, you can go under a total solar eclipse. The next total solar eclipse for the United States will not occur until 2044, and the next one where this will repeat here in the Youngstown, Ohio area will not be until 2096. So when I say this is a once-in-a-lifetime event, this is a once-in-a-lifetime event. Now, we are going to be doing an event with the total solar eclipse, and I am actually going to stop my video so you can see this a little bit better. We are partnering up with our friends at Foxconn EV. For those of you who don't know, that is Lordstown. That is where they used to make the Chevy Cruze. Foxconn is opening up their massive parking lots for us on April 8th. The event will be starting at 1 o'clock and concludes at 4 o'clock. At that location, totality will be about a minute and a half and will be just after 3:15 p.m. So like I said, you don't want to wait. That's why we're opening the gates at 1 p.m. so you have time to get there. The nice thing is we are going to be in a fenced off lot where they used to put the new cruises before they put them on the car carriers. About 20 acres. We're going to have at least 4 telescopes set up there with proper filters for people to use, but you can come and use those. We have a limited number of eclipse shades we will be giving away at this event. You can pick them up at the gate to that area. And there's also a nice 1,000-car parking lot right next to that lot. So you pull in that parking lot and then walk through the gate over to where we are. What to bring? If you have your own eclipse shades, bring your own eclipse shades. Or if you have a telescope with the proper filter, and I'm not talking about one of those ones that says solar filter and fits on the eyepiece. Those things are garbage. You should throw that on the ground and smash it under your shoe. They don't work. You need one over the top end of whatever type of telescope you have. But you are welcome to bring those along if you want. Bring lawn chairs. Bring your own food and refreshments. We will have the telescope set up in a PA system and let you know when we're getting close to totality and everything. Please do keep in mind that you're viewing this at your own risk. Eye protection must be worn, but we can't really enforce that, but please be there. So we hope to see you there. This map shows you a good thing. The reason we chose Lordstown, we're fairly near the edge of the totality, but it is convenient to Austintown and Youngstown and Canfield. Easy to get up to Lordstown. And since it is the totality is not happening on YSU's campus, we are encouraging all students and everybody on campus to come up to us at Lordstown for the minute and a half. Once in a lifetime event. The address is, by the way, this graphic you're seeing here is available on our Facebook page. You can find it there. 23 for your GPS, 2300 Halleck Young Road, Southwest, Lordstown, 44481. The security at Foxconn will direct you to where you have to park, and we'll have our sail flag up, and you'll see where to go once you get parked. We hope you will join us for this once in a lifetime event, and it's not going to be too long until it happens. Okay, so that's a lot of stuff. I know. If anybody has any questions, did anything pop up on the Facebook feed, Aubrey and Jordan, that people would like me to share? Nothing?
Nothing. We did get a comment saying that someone wished that there could be a ring of fire around this eclipse, but personally, I think the corona is going to be fantastic anyway.
A ring of fire eclipse, what that is, you'd need to have protection for the entire time. But I mentioned the moon is on close approach at apogee. Which one? Perihelion, apogee, aphelion. It's at
Furthest away.
apogee. It's at apogee, closest approach, and that means it's completely blocking. A ring of fire eclipse happens when the moon completely covers the sun, but it's at perigee. It's at its furthest point, and then its angular diameter isn't quite big enough to cover the entire thing, and you can still see the sun around the edges. You can also have partial solar eclipses as well, where only part of it's coming. Those you can only safely view with proper eye protection. That's what we had here in 2017. The totality passed south of us. We had about 85% of the sun blocked here. So we will have lots of those between now and 2096. But this is the only total eclipse that you're going to get in this area for almost 100 years, almost 70 years. All right. Well, if you don't have any questions, once again, lots going on. We hope to see you at Lordstown. If you don't have another site picked out, we hope to put on a good show for you with our telescopes and let you know what's going on. We are going to have several astronomers there to help out. And Jordan will be there. You can say hi to Jordan and me. We'll both be there as well. Also, don't forget our event with the Mahoning Valley Astronomical Society tomorrow afternoon, 6:30 p.m. And you can also buy eclipse shades from them, 5 to 9, at the Ward Beecher Hall, across the hall from our now pretty gutted planetarium. It's going to get a lot worse, too. And
I'll be there as well tomorrow.
And
If you have
Jordan, you get to see
any questions for me.
So very good. And if you want to get eclipse shades from SPS instead of MPS, talk to Aubrey. So fun stuff with that. We hope you guys enjoyed this look at the eclipse. We hope you will get to totality and see this once in a lifetime event. And until we talk again, sometime in April after the eclipse, keep looking up.